Every single day, AI gets better, it gets faster, and it gets cheaper. It can write our emails, it can create absolutely stunning art, and analyze data on a scale it's almost impossible for us to even wrap our heads around. And all this incredible progress, it forces us to confront a massive, and I mean fundamental question.
Right? When an AI can pump out nearly infinite digital stuff for practically zero cost, what happens to the value of human effort? How do we build an economy that doesn't just reward what machines can copy, but actually rewards what makes us uniquely human? Today, we're going to dive into one possible blueprint for doing exactly that.
Okay, so it all boils down to a really basic difference. On one side, you've got AI output. It's infinite, it's easy to replicate, and it's all driven by data. But on the other side, you've got genuine human connection. And that is finite. It's totally unique, and it's driven by emotion. The blueprint we're looking at today argues that our future economy must be built on that scarcity, on the value of real, authentic human interaction.
But how in the world you build a system that puts a real economic price tag on something as intangible as a good conversation or mentoring someone? The proposed solution is a concept called the human swarm economy.
Here's the core idea in a nutshell. It's a decentralized system, which means no single company or government is in charge, and its entire reason for being is to create real economic value from the things we already do. Collaborating, teaching, creating things together, as long as those interactions can be proven to be real and authentic.
The whole system is designed from the ground up on a few key principles. First, it's decentralized, so there's no central boss, which makes it fair and really resilient. It also puts a huge emphasis on human verification. This is crucial for preventing bots and AI from gaming the system. And finally, it's built to be super energy efficient and to run on small, low-power devices. This makes it accessible to pretty much everyone, not just folks with giant, expensive server farms.
So you might be wondering, how is this network actually built? Well, it doesn't rely on giant, centralized data centers like the internet we use every day. Instead, it works more like a swarm.
Yeah, literally. Think of a flock of birds or a school of fish. There's no single leader telling everyone what to do, right? But the whole group just moves in this perfect coordinated harmony. This network is designed to do the exact same thing, with thousands, maybe millions of little devices all working together, sharing the load to create this incredibly resilient system with no single point of failure.
The real backbone of this swarm is made up of what are called worker nodes. Now, these are simple, low-cost devices. Think of something like a Raspberry Pi. These are the workhorses. They're the ones running the software, validating all the interactions happening on the network, and they make up the vast majority of the swarm.
Now, to keep that massive swarm from just dissolving into chaos, you have beacon nodes. These are slightly more powerful devices, and they basically act as the network's traffic controllers. They help all those little worker nodes find each other and coordinate everything, making sure the entire network stays perfectly in sync.
And finally, you have the edge nodes. Think of these as the network's eyes and ears. This could be your smartphone or other small Internet of Things devices. Their job is to be right there on the front lines, capturing the data from real-world human interactions and then feeding it securely back into the network to be verified.
Okay, so that's the structure of the network. But what about the economy? How does that part actually work? Well, it's all built around this really fascinating two-tiered token system.
Everything starts with one, a single primary token that represents the entire foundational value of this whole economy. But from this one token, everything else flows.
That one primary token is then divided into two completely different categories of subtokens. You've got 4 pillar tokens, which are structural. They're like the foundation. And then you have 7 sector tokens, which are designed to reward specific kinds of activity within the economy.
And these two token types have totally different jobs. The 4 pillar tokens, representing core values like community, they're all about governance. You actually can't trade them. Instead, holding them is kind of like holding a voting share in the network's future. Now, the 7 sector tokens for areas like education or art, those are the actual currency. These are what you earn for your verified interactions, and they are designed to be traded. They're the lifeblood of this economy.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. We have the swarm network, and we have the tokens. How does a person on the ground, like you or me, actually participate and earn some value? The whole process flows in 4 pretty clear steps. It starts with a real-world human interaction. Let's say you spend an hour mentoring the student. The network then has to verify that the interaction was authentic. using different proofs to confirm it was really you and the student and not a couple of bots. Based on that proof, a reward gets calculated. And finally, that new value, in the form of those tradable sector tokens, is distributed not just to you and the student, but also to the whole ecosystem that helped support the interaction.
And that reward isn't just some arbitrary number. It's calculated with a clear formula. It takes into account the quality of the interaction itself, maybe based on feedback, and multiplies that by a human verification factor, which is basically how certain the network is that real people were involved. And then all of that is balanced against the total activity on the network to make sure the system stays stable and the rewards are fair.
So who gets the value that's created? Get this, a full 70% of the reward goes directly to the people who participated in the interaction. 20% goes to the nodes that helped validate it, and 10% gets reinvested back into the ecosystem to keep it stable. The most important part here is that the vast majority of value flows directly to the humans, not to some central corporation.
So this is a fascinating and, let's be honest, an incredibly ambitious blueprint. But we have to be realistic here. Turning a concept like this into a global reality is a huge, huge undertaking, and there are some serious obstacles in the way.
And the hurdles are significant. You've got the technical limits of trying to run a complex network on tiny devices. There's the constant cat and mouse game of trying to stop bots from faking a human identity. There's the massive social challenge of convincing millions of people to adopt a whole new system. And that's before you even start to tackle all the complex legal and ethical questions that are going to pop up for sure.
Ultimately, though, what a blueprint like this does is it forces us to consider a really powerful idea. For maybe the first time in history, we might have the tools to consciously design an economy from the ground up. And that leaves us with a profound question. If we can literally write the code for our economic future, what human values should we choose to place at its very core?